Do you want to succeed in your corporate career? Do you want to learn from a very experienced corporate C-suite working mom? If you answered yes to any of these questions, this live interview with one of the amazing people I met on LinkedIn is the right person for you. I always believe that success leaves clues. That's why I dedicated every Wednesday of every week to interviewing successful working moms in business and in corporate to learn from them how can you really succeed personally and professionally. I believe that in this life there is no manual, but there are mothers. So if you are a working mom or if you are not, but if you do have a family or a friend who is a working mom, Working Moms Academy is here for you. And what is Working Moms Academy? For those of you who don't know me yet, let me introduce myself. My name is Wanda Kalupig. I am the founder of Working Moms Academy. Working Moms Academy is a community and online platform with the goal to help stressed and working mothers overcome stress and burnout by sharing life tools that education lacks through coaching, training, and of course, getting these expert views and success stories from people like my guest today. And before I bring her on stage, let me give a quick background about Fabienne. Fabienne sent me a message here on LinkedIn. She said she wanted to become one of the advisors of Working Moms Academy. And immediately when I contacted her, I was really, awed by I was I'll say starstruck by her beauty, her grace, and also her achievements and accomplishments. And I'm very honored to have her as one of the board advisors because I know she has a lot to share to a lot of working mothers. And today, I guarantee you, and I'm very excited because I know you and I myself are going to learn a lot from her. So let me give a quick background about Fabienne. Fabienne Baker, an international C-suite working mom of almost 40 years. She worked in Switzerland, London, Hungary, South Africa, New York, and Germany. She has been an executive board member for international banks and a CFO for 20 years of Citibank and State Street. Fabienne did not plan for a C-suite career, but she became a family breadwinner when her husband stopped working. She is now happily retiring soon and aims to help other moms live to their full potential and enjoy life. And let me have a big round of applause and bring Fabienne on stage. Fabienne, thank
Hello,
you so
Wanda.
much for this. I'm so excited. My energy is out of the roof. I'm so excited to interview. I mean, there's a lot of things I want to ask you. I also have a list of questions because I am a member of a lot of working moms group. And I asked them that question: what do you want to learn from a very successful corporate mom? And they have so many questions. But before we go to their questions, I think Working Moms Academy. One of the problems you want to solve is that they said women get paid 23% less than men. And also statistics said that there are only about 20% of C-suite women in the corporate world. And I remember when I was an audit manager, that statistic is even lower than 20%. There are very few women as, leaders and managers in the team. And when I had that promotion, if I did not get it, I had to ask for it. And I remember, there's a lot of people getting promotion before me. And I asked my boss that question. I said, what would it take for me to get that promotion? And my boss told me, I never thought you wanted the promotion because you have kids. And I was like, no, who said that? I said, I want to be promoted. And then he just told me, okay, take the examinations and we'll consider you for the next one. And I was promoted in the next 6 months. Now, what I want to learn from you, that is my story of how I got my managerial promotion in 2012. Now, I know a lot of women are stuck in their careers and they said, motherhood, there's a penalty and a price that you have to pay to have to be a working mother and also to succeed in corporate. Now, can you tell us, Fabienne, your story? How did you get your promotion?
Okay, Wanda, thank you very much. Thank you for that nice introduction. So the one thing I want to say, I want to start with the symbol of this year's International Women's Day.
Oh yes, just a
App and break that glass ceiling.
I love that.
Do it. I learned it too late, and that's so. I will tell you a little bit about about promotions. So the first promotion I thought I deserved, I didn't get, and that was in my very first job, where it was in an insurance company, and they had hired 2 people that year coming out of university, and guess who it was but my boyfriend and me. It just happened. And 2 years later, I'm being called at the director's office to be told that that year they will promote my boyfriend, but not me, because of course I'm going to have kids. So I hope you understand. And then I realized I was in a Swiss traditional company, and that wasn't the place for me, so I moved. And just to let you, just to complete that story, I have to tell you that I'm Swiss, born in Switzerland, educated in Switzerland, and I was 14 years old when women got the right of vote in Switzerland.
Wow.
So so that tells you a little bit about the environment. When I came out of university, women had been voting for just a few years. So when I was in that very Swiss company, I realized, well, I'm in the wrong place. If that's the way that company works, then I move. And what I did is I went to England, learned English, which opened the market for me. I was very bad at languages at school. That was my weak subject. So I had to do something. And what I did is I got further education and learned English. And then that opened new doors for me. Then talking about promotion, also a story that happened to me, and that was in Citibank, where I joined on the 1st of April, and my first project was to automate a certain process, which I did with a team of programmers. And came the end of the year, it was automated, and I got my promotion. I didn't ask for it. I got it because I had automated that process. And my boss at the time told me, every time you will make yourself redundant by automating something, I give you a promotion. Well, guess what? 3 months later, I got my second promotion because I did something else. That really encouraged me. But having said that, I was waiting for the promotion to be given to me. And then later in life, I realized nobody will manage my career but myself. And nobody is going to think about me unless I show something, unless I express what I want. A lady recently asked me, I am scared of appearing too pushy. They will say that I'm too ambitious. I don't want to appear the woman over ambitious. And my response to her was, there's nothing wrong with being ambitious. Why not? Men are ambitious. We don't say, oh, that man is bad because he's got ambitions. And I think that's where women need to just express what they want. And if they think they deserve a promotion, they should just ask for it. In my life, I have to say, men, if I have somebody coming into my office asking for a promotion, at least 9 times out of 10, it is a man coming.
Wow, see?
Asking for salary increase, asking for a promotion, asking to learn something new. It's still today, it's very rare that a woman comes and expresses her wish and her needs.
That's a bit disturbing, right, Fabian? Thank you for sharing that. If you said 9 out of 10 cases, it's men who's putting their foot forward, asking for a promotion, for salary raise, for learning, and I think in the current world where we now live in, we women, I mean, nobody is stopping us, as you said, right?
Mhm.
That, where's my camera? So, as you said, right, we have to to break the glass ceiling, and I think that is one question landed me my promotion. You know, you just have to ask that question. What do I need to do to be the next person to be promoted? Or if you want to have a salary increase, right? I think it's a matter of asking the question, what do I
Mhm.
need to do to
Yes.
increase my salary? And
Yeah.
vision, I they said, you know, without vision, people perish. So you need to have a vision for yourself. So
Yeah.
I want to encourage every working mother, every woman. See, Fabienne herself is saying, I mean, she is in that, I mean, at the top of the rank and waiting for women to come to her and ask for that promotion. So I hope a lot of women. And I think, Fabian, you know, one of the things that I know women, and not only women, but other also individuals are scared of is that in terms of the additional roles and responsibility that comes with the salary increase. So can you give some tips? How do you manage, I mean, the additional responsibilities that comes with the salary?
Yeah. So I will again compare men and women.
Okay, that's good.
So when I have a man asking to move to take more responsibility, the man will know 30% of the job and he will ask for it. A woman waits until she knows 100% and then comes and asks for it. Or
Mm,
waits to be asked. So again, that glass ceiling, put your hand up. But I think I'm deviating from your question. Your question was how do I adapt? How did I adapt to new responsibilities? So I did go for a lot of stretches over over the years, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of learning, but it's very rewarding. That intellectual challenge is extremely rewarding.
hmm.
And maybe also one point I want to mention is at one point in my life, I realized that I worry. I'm a worrier. I like things done well, and I've realized two things. You can't do everything well. Uh,
Hmm.
we make mistakes. We are human as long as we're human. Mistakes do happen, and I tend to over worry. If I made a mistake, I wouldn't sleep for 3 nights.
Wow.
And that's also a woman thing. Uh, the guys, or if they have a fight, they go for a beer in the evening. Next morning, everything is forgotten. The women, we tend to think and overthink.
Hmm.
And even if you don't know everything, it's okay. That's also a big learning. You don't have to know your subject 120%. 80% is probably good enough to give a presentation and talk about the subject.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
don't
think that
yeah.
that's great, Fabian. It's your confidence, right? I mean, it's your confidence to speak. I mean, men have, as you said, right? Men only know 30%, but they still come forward. But women, I mean, they want to know everything first before coming
Mhm.
forward. And I think
Yeah.
it's all about confidence, also, right? That
Mhm.
women ask, like, we are scared to ask. We are always waiting. I think it's also our nature. I mean, it's in our
Yes.
genes, right? We have to break we have to break the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I mean, it's a constant change, especially working moms, right? I mean, throughout your journey, can you also share with us what are the sacrifices that you have to make? Because of course you are not only, I mean, a manager, you're not only a CFO of Citibank, but you are also a mother. So how do you manage? That's always the question. How do you balance life, family, and career?
So I would say the one thing I did, but when my children were small, we didn't have mobile phones.
Hmm, that's good, right?
Today, I have a computer, I have an iPad, I have a mobile phone from State Street. I'm
Okay.
reachable. In those days, you were not, and that was actually much better. And what I did when my children were small, and so when I was at home, I was at home. I was there for them. When I was at work, I was at work.
Okay.
And I really separated the two. I had the big advantage of my husband being at home. Obviously, I didn't have to worry, or we had nannies, we had people looking after the children. But my husband was always, he was on the third floor of the house, so it helped me obviously immensely. I didn't have to worry when I was at work. I was at work. When I was at home, I was at home.
Oh, that's very good. So really having clear boundaries, because the
Yes.
problem now is that, I mean, if you're still at home, but sometimes you are at home, but you still have your laptop with you. So,
Yes.
so that's the difficulty, right? I mean, especially now working from home, there's no more, I'll say, there's no more time for you to stop, because your boss can always say, oh, your laptop's with you. You can, of
Mhm.
course, finish the work. So how do you manage saying, I have to stop now?
So it was actually, my children helped me so much, because when I was at home, I didn't want to think about work, because they were there laughing and wanted to play, and they were so happy to see me coming back from work. So when the children grew up, that's when I realized I'm actually missing something that creates that break.
Hmm.
And so I had to work on that, because I started to have no working hours concept anymore when they left the house. And I think that, and then I got into a discipline. But I think that discipline is very important. We all need to recharge. It's ever so important. And unless you do that, you get, it's you cannot be the best mom, be the best at work, and mix everything and never stop. I think that the time of rest is important.
I love that, Fabienne. I was invited to speak in one of the corporate companies, Grant Thornton, and they were asking me that question. They were like, my kids always come to me whenever I have meeting, and I was telling them, you will miss those stage, because now my kids are only 8 and 11, and they were, I mean, during at least, I think until they were 6, they were always like, mommy, mommy, mommy. But now they really have their own world. And I'm missing that. And I was telling them, kids have different age and stage, and they really change over time. The needs and the relationship between the parent and the mother and the children changes over time. And it is very important to nourish the moment now, because you will definitely miss that, right? And as you said, when your kids left the house, I mean, you started to lose that boundary of when do I really stop
Yeah,
working?
I lost my marker.
Yeah, you lost the marker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me also. I mean, I always have to tell my kids, do you even remember, mommy? I'm still here. And they're like, yeah, mommy. But we always just have routines before we sleep to catch up and just to remember. So, Fabian, you've been working for over 40 years. Wow, I really want to honor and salute you for that. So, my question is, what keeps you motivated at work? I mean, what I mean, to work that long, right? I mean, there has to be some passion.
I think it's well. First, I think it's the social connection.
Ha.
I like working with other people. I get energy from other people. So I think I could not be one of these people, working from home, having my own business. That wouldn't be my thing. And the intellectual challenge, of course,
Hmm.
uh, and the progression in the career and the stretches I was taking over, or putting myself in these challenging positions has created this intellectual challenge, which now that I'm retiring, I'm looking to use to use my energy and intellect on other enterprises, as you know, Wanda, and
Yeah.
is one of them.
I agree with you, Fabian. I mean, I was working for 16 years and then I left my career. I said, I want to be a housewife. But then when I became a housewife, I was like, wait, it's not for me. I started to, I think, if there's a terminology, I'll say stay at home depression because you're always used to that social connection, to the
Mhm.
intellectual challenge, of delivering something and accomplishing something throughout the day. So for those mothers, I mean, I think when you become a mother, you start to confuse yourself. Do I just become a mother or do I just become a working mom? And I think I have come to the conclusion that you don't have to make a choice. You can make it work. And it's about setting boundaries, being clear with your goals also. What would be your advice to those working moms I mean, they said, right, during last year, 1 in 4 women are leaving the corporate because they had to take care of their children, they have to take care of their parents. But, women still want to go back to work, but they're finding it difficult. What is your advice to them?
Uh, I think the one thing I would say is, again, you cannot do it all.
Hmm.
And from my female colleagues, I would say the ones I know who gave up at a certain point was because of the search for perfection.
Ha.
Being perfect at home, perfect mother, perfect wife or partner, perfect at work, never taking a break, um, over preparing for everything. So I would say, take a little bit of distance, uh, take breaks, and also in the career progression. That's one thing I have done regularly. So I went up, but then also I had periods where I thought, and now I need to breathe. So you cannot go up and up and up and up and up, uh,
Hmm.
non-stop. Uh, Again, I think there is a risk of breaking along the way. So taking a step back from time to time and taking it a little easy to recharge the batteries.
I love that. I think, most women are perfectionists. I was triggered when you say stop. Stop being a perfectionist. I think, see, every woman, every working mom that I know wants to be the best mother, the best wife, the best manager, the best employee there is. But at some point in time, you just really have to sacrifice one over the other. And I think it's okay because I mean, this life they said it's like an ECG machine, right, Fabienne? It's up, down, up, down, up,
Yeah,
down. But if you're on a flat line where you're perfect everywhere, then I think you're dead. It becomes scary.
yeah.
In a life machine, you're dead already. So I think you are very right. Stop searching for perfection. Take breaks, and if you need to, just breathe and be in that moment, and then just be it. Right? It's okay if you're not okay.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
let's move now. How did you cope during the pandemic? A lot of people are also, I mean, you've been traveling to so many countries. I mean, you live in Germany, in South Africa, and I think there are like 7 countries I mentioned. I mean, I've been to, I think only 4 countries I've lived: Dubai, Philippines, Malaysia. I'd see only three. But I mean, you've been to many countries, and I think it's all about dealing with change, right? And last year, there's a lot of change that happened in the way we school our children, the way we work, the way we operate overall. How did you overcome last year's change, and how did you overcome the many changes that you dealt with during your entire career?
Mhm. So the last year, the pandemic, I mean, my children are grown up, so I didn't have to do the homeschooling.
Okay.
I do feel for the parents who had to go through that because I can imagine how difficult that was. So I can speak about the others maybe rather than me in terms of the pandemic.
Okay.
What I have seen from my colleagues, it was actually quite interesting to see the parents of 2 or 3 children coping better than the parents of 1 child.
Multitaskers.
Because the kids were playing with each other.
Oh, yeah.
The older one could take care of the small one. So that's an observation I wanted to share. What I also realized is the people who are well organized at work were better organized at home as well when all of that was happening. But in terms of changing and moving countries, I moved countries with my family and I moved countries afterwards on my own. I have to say it was easier with my family and having the support of my husband and having my children around. And I was then more thinking about the children integrating. That was my first concern rather than me. I thought, well, I'll cope somehow. But the school has to be good. The children have to be happy. And I think both my husband and I worked towards that. And I think in our partnership, maybe it was easier for me because I was working for the same bank, going from place to place. So I had my connections within the bank and my work. And then the last few times I moved on my own. And it's been more difficult, I have to say. It's been more difficult. It's been more difficult to make friends because when you move with a family and with children, then you automatically meet the parents of the other kids. So you make your friends through the children.
True, true.
While on your own, it's a little bit more difficult, a bit more challenging, and a little bit more nerve-wracking as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think change always has its own consequence, right? I mean, when I moved from Dubai to Malaysia, I mean, when I became a housewife in Malaysia, it was easier for me to make friends because there's a spouse association. There's a lot of parent association also. So it's easier for me to really make friends. And I think I also agree with you that having 2 children is good. So for those of you who only have 1 child, my my advice and my best others have to. I mean, during the lockdown,
Speak to your partner tonight.
we have an escalation I'll say ladder in the family. So if my younger one has a question, she needs to ask the elder sister first. If the elder sister, I mean the sister don't know, then it has to come to me. If I don't know, then it's the dad. And I think, yeah, I always tell my children, you might fight, but the blessing there is that you have somebody to fight with. It's very difficult to be an only child, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I think they said, children comes with a lot of cost and responsibilities. I agree with that. I fully agree with that. But having to is really something different. So if you are thinking of, should I have two children?
You're breaking up, Wanda. Okay, Wanda, you have disappeared. And I'm just thinking, looking at here she is again. I'm looking at the comments to see if I can answer any of them. I don't. Okay, no, I don't see any questions in the comment. Maybe one other point I want to mention, and I think it's a question of a lot of mothers, is can you do it on your own? And I wanted to share something on that point. I was lucky that I had a husband who is a fabulous father and has been looking after our children extremely well in terms of affection, but also in terms of helping them with school and in their development. So there is a say I used to hear a number of years back, probably when I was growing up, and the say was, behind every great man, there is a great woman. I was thinking of that today, and I was thinking of Barack Obama or Clinton, or any of these guys who have fabulous wives or partners. And I do think that having support from a partner, from your parents, from your friends, from anywhere, or hire help, but don't try and do everything yourself. Again, it's that balance. You've got to have a certain balance to be able to take on more responsibility at work. I don't think you can do that and having no support, even if the support is somebody you pay to support you with house help or with the children. Even if it costs a lot of money, the money is not important when it comes to that. What is important is that you have time for yourself. You have sufficient time to sleep and recover and take breaks.
That's good, Fabienne. Am I back? Can you see me now?
Yes, you're back.
I've always been there. I don't know. Okay, but thank you for sharing that. I think you are correct. I think if they said behind every successful man is a woman,
You have disappeared again. Yeah, so yes, on that point, again, trying to do everything yourself, to the perfection without any support is difficult. And what I would advise is be ready to spend the money if you have external help. What else I can share with you? Maybe what I would do differently today. So what I would do differently today is, I think I told you the beginning of my career where, I was not putting my hand up. Also, I was very, very respectful, which is good to be respectful, but I think I overestimated the power of my bosses. And I was, if I was getting negative feedback, I hated it. That was at the beginning of my career. I learned then over time that as I was going up in my career, and then I was the manager, I realized the managers don't know it all and are not these people of so much power over your life. So yeah, again, put the hand up, break that glass, and make it easy for yourself in terms of not depending on others, but building up your career yourself and managing it. The other point, maybe to mention, one of my very first bosses told me once, he was a very great guy, an Indian man, who told me, I was at the very beginning of my career, and he told very beginning of my career at Citibank, and he told me, at work, you do not have to be friends with everybody. You don't have to make friends at work, but be careful, never make one enemy.
Ah.
And if there is something I would do differently, well, I made one enemy in my career, one serious enemy. We don't always agree, but and we don't always like each other, but making an enemy is not a good idea. And I will tell you the case I had, which was one of my colleagues, as I started work at Citibank. He was not very, he wasn't very good. He was actually not good and ended up having to leave the company. Now, what I did when I realized the mistakes he was making and how bad he was, I didn't talk to him. I talked to our boss. And then later, that man created so many problems for me. And what I learned from that is I should have spoken to him and tell him that I was going to share with our boss. But that enemy I made created problems for me for a long time. So,
I cannot imagine. So, Fabienne, if you were to give an advice to your younger self, I mean, how can you really avoid enemies and make a lot? I mean, as you said, you don't have to be friends with everybody, but you have to make sure you have no enemies. So you said you have to speak directly to the person, right? Who you need to speak to. What other tips can you give? Because I know nobody wants to have enemies at work also. What other tips can you give to have a smooth relationship throughout your career?
I think, to be honest and direct. I now work in Germany where people are extremely direct. In fact, sometimes a little too direct, but but it does work. And I think being honest, being respectful, not raising your voice. So that's also a question, as I was on a panel on International Women's Day. One question from somebody was, she had never heard me scream at anybody. Somebody who has been working in our bank for maybe 2-3 years. And it's only after 1 year of working there that she heard me once lose my temper. And that's the only one time. And she said, how can you be respected without raising your voice? And my answer was, if you're a good manager, you don't have to scream.
True.
And so what I would advise, I mean, there is, of course, biases out there. Whether people want or not, there are biases out there. And if a woman screams, it's the screaming woman. If a man screams, oh, well, yeah, something went wrong. Men are forgiven, but women are not. But it's also not in my nature to scream and shout. I'm more, but then I get my point across the same way. And I don't think anybody in my team is not performing because I'm not screaming at them. So this is also a piece of advice maybe I would like to give.
That's a very good advice. I mean, Fabienne, for me, I've been traveling to many countries because my work, I mean, allowed me and gave me that flexibility to meet many nationalities. I mean, when I do audits, I've seen there's always different cultures, different way to communicate. But I think what always works the best is being respectful, being honest, and being true. And I think if you always speak from your heart, that is where you will also never get wrong. because
That's absolutely what I believe as well.
it's from your heart. It's
Yeah,
out of love,
yeah,
right? It's not out
yeah,
of logic or pride or something
yeah.
else. So that's very nice. Fabienne, I learned a lot already. Can you share some tips? What are your three secrets? To succeed personally and professionally. Because see, Working Moms Academy, we said working moms can be successful at work and they can be successful at home also. And how were you able to do it?
In my personal life, my biggest success are my children.
Hmm.
Uh, they are wonderful. They are my children, of course, but they're doing so well, and I'm extremely proud of them. Uh, in my professional life, what am I more proud of? Maybe if I go back to where I was born in Switzerland, when women could not even vote. I was born in a small village, a farming village, and going from there, first going to university, I was the only one in my family, the only one in the village.
Wow.
And people in the village would say to my parents, why is she going to, why are you paying for university? She's going to get married anyway.
Okay.
So that was, my mother was a great support. My mother is the person who, actually, if I went to university, it's thanks to my mother. I think she gave me the guts to do it in that environment, and she was quite proud of that. So that helped me, obviously. And then what I'm also proud of is when I was stopped in my career by a man, I moved, and what I would say, so I gave you the example in my very first job. So then I went to learn English, further education. If you are in a situation like that, it happened to me twice. It happened to me as well in Citibank, where we were two colleagues, and we had a CFO coming from. He was based in Zurich, but he was from the US. He was there for a period of time, and when he left, basically we were the two candidates.
Mm.
I thought I was much better than him, but he got the job. So there, as I moved, I knew that some seniors in the bank thought that was they would have voted for me. So when I spoke to them, and they offered me a job immediately in another area. So I left. I'm a CFO, so I work in finance. I left finance at that point to work in a trust product. And then the seniors in the finance world, after a few months, realized they had made a mistake. And that's when I got a phone call saying, we want you back in finance. There is a position in Hungary as the CFO for the country. Would you like that one? You didn't get the CFO in Switzerland. Do you want that one? And that's when I started to go around the world with Citibank. So I was not going to let that happen to me. I was not going to, and I was so sure that I would have been the better candidate. And in fact, a few years later, I went back to Switzerland, and he was asked to go, and I took over the CFO role in Switzerland.
Wow. Even your story is very inspiring, from, being the first woman in the village to go to college, to leaving Switzerland, to, to really making your own path. That's really something, Fabienne. That's really something commendable and worth recognizing. And I think you are always, I think what I am hearing is that you're continuously learning, right? You're always
Yeah.
intellectually challenging yourself. How do you challenge yourself to learn? I mean, what are the I mean that's I mean I heard and I also believe what T. Harv Eker said. If you are not learning, you're automatically dying. I mean, a lot of people are in their comfort zones, right?
Yes.
So what's your advice to these people, to working moms or to individuals who are just happy where they are? I mean,
Yeah. I would say the brain is a muscle. Unless you use it, you lose it.
I like that.
Which is something I'm thinking about as I'm about to retire. And I say we have to push ourselves to the limit of our potential. Why should we not do that? I think I told you at one point in the conversation that I worry about my job anyway. So
Hmm.
at one point I thought, worry for worry, I may as well be paid for
True.
reasonably paid for that. And then I wasn't scared to take on more or different
Ah, that's
opportunities.
good to be fearless, right? Now, it's International Women's Month, and they said you choose to challenge. What do you choose to challenge every woman and every working mom?
The challenge is time.
Hmm.
Because
True.
really, if you want to do what you want to do, well, 24 hours a day is not enough. Uh, so again, coming back to you can't be best at everything, and there are days where you're best mom, and there are days where you're best at work. Uh, balancing the two, and then also thinking about yourself and your breaks and your own needs, which I have to say I wasn't doing well.
Hmm.
So all the years when my children were small, I never went to the gym, never did anything. I started when they were grown up. Then I started to do yoga and dancing and gym, and so I neglected that because I thought I didn't have the time. Today, probably I would say I would make that time because it's important.
Oh, that's very good. Okay, we're almost in the end of the conversation. There's one more important question. I mean, we mothers are always guilty, no matter what. How do you overcome the mommy guilt? The
I,
guilt of not being enough, of not being perfect.
I think there again, my husband is helped me a lot on that, in the sense that when I was at work, I knew the children were with somebody responsible because we had nannies, and when it didn't work out and we were not happy, we changed them. So I knew they were with somebody responsible, and then my husband was close by. So I actually never, also because I was the breadwinner, I became the breadwinner for the family. So, somebody had to work. It happened to be me. But I didn't have a choice but working. And then if I was working, then I was doing something really challenging and good.
I think becoming a breadwinner itself is very, very difficult and very challenging. I mean, I want to salute for you, Fabienne, for doing all of that. I mean, for 40 years, really. I mean, that's really something, right? So, I want to just maybe you can give your last message for those people who really want to, I mean, to be successful. What is that one thing? If there's one advice that you can give them, what is that one thing that they can do to really succeed in not only in their corporate career but also in life? What's your one last message to them?
Know your priorities, delegate at work, at home, get help. Don't try and do everything yourself to the perfection. I think I'm repeating what I've said a few times, but don't kill yourself. Enjoy life.
I like that. I think what I'm hearing from you all throughout this conversation is, stop being perfect. You just ask for help. You learn your priorities. You delegate, and this is the way for you to be successful because you cannot really do everything and be everything. So,
Yeah.
Fabienne, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. I learned a lot from you. I mean, being a CFO for 20 years and being very successful in the corporate career for 40 years is really something. Breaking boundaries in that village of Switzerland, being the first women to be in college, and beating a lot of men in the corporate ladder is really something. So thank you very much. Is there anything you want to promote or you want to tell anybody? Are you writing a book, or if people want to get in touch with you?
Gladly.
How can they get in touch with you?
Well, I'll gladly have a conversation with any woman who would like to. So if you contact me through Working Moms Academy, I think that's probably the easiest, but very, very gladly.
Thank you, Fabienne. Yes, you want to say something
I
else?
was going to share a funny story.
Yes, please. Okay, I forgot the funny story. Yes, I love funny story. Yes, Fabienne, please. Please share
So
one.
I told you when I was at work, I was at work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was one exception. If one child was really sick, on their birthdays, I always was at home on their birthdays. But then there was another exception. It was when they hurt themselves, something happened. So there I would just drop whatever I was doing, drop the pen and go. And once my husband calls me, telling me that my daughter had fallen. She was running with with another girl, and she fell on her face, and she had a pretty bad cut. So he was taking her to the hospital, and he says, "Don't worry. I'm taking her to the hospital. She'll be absolutely fine. I'm there with her. Our son is with the nanny. No worries." Well, I dropped my pen anyway, and I went to the hospital. And I arrived there at the emergency reception, and I say, I'm Frau Baker, and they tell me, he is in room so and so there. And I'm thinking, he said it was my daughter. I'm pretty sure he said it was my daughter. It's not my son. So what had happened is my husband cannot stand blood. He had fainted. And at the hospital, they were sending me to look after him and not after my daughter. I found my daughter somehow and managed to get into the operating room just before they were stitching her. But that is my story. Wanda, you've disappeared again, or we cannot hear you. Okay, Wanda has disappeared. I want to thank all the ladies, or maybe men as well, who participated to this session this afternoon, and wish you all the best in your private life and in your career. And I hope to hear from as many of you as possible. I'll be answering your questions or share comments whenever you feel like it. Wanda, thank you so much for the organization. Thank you for inviting me, and speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Keep your hand up.
Fabienne, can you still see me?
Yes.
So we would like, I don't know what's wrong with my Wi-Fi or my signal. Thanks, Fabienne, for this. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody,
Wanda.
for watching. Watch out for Fabienne. She will be with Working Moms Academy, and I'm fortunate to have her. We are here to help a lot of working mothers thrive personally and professionally. And with that, thank you again, and God bless you. Bye.